Turn it off. My volume's off on my phone.
Okay, it's good now. It's good. All right, so
Okay.
here we go. How's it going, everybody? My name is Omar Thabit. Welcome to Motivate Me 313 Debate Night. We have a very interesting topic today, and we got the right people to represent both sides. But before we do talk about that, Motivate Me 313 Debate Night basically was started so that we can get two people to speak about a topic that may be interesting to the community, to the country, to the world, whatever it may be. And the wonderful School of Journalism at Michigan State University, the greatest university, by the way, just throwing that out there, taught me that whenever, there we go white, taught me that whenever you tell a story, make sure you tell both sides. And so this is why it's important that we have people representing both sides the right way. And the topic, of course, is are you for or against dispensaries being in the city of Hamtramck? And representing Pleasantries is Eric Mack. I'm going to start off from the right to left. So we're going to start off with Eric Mack. He is the Chief Security Officer at Pleasantries. You got Benjamin Sobchak, who is the Chief Legal Officer at Pleasantries. And then we also got Jerome Crawford, who is the Director of Legal Operations and Social Equity at Pleasantries. And then on the bottom here on the Zoom call, the people that are against the opening of dispensaries in Hamtramck, you have Bill Meyer, who is an activist / director of One Hamtramck. And then you have Imam Ishmael. Imam Ishmael is an imam at Masjid al-Ghazali in Hamtramck, and also imam at Masjid al-Noor in Melvindale, and plenty of other places as well. He speaks at other cities, countries as well. So with that said, I just want to tell you guys, first and foremost, thank you guys for being here, and I'm going to go over the rules right quick for those that are watching. I'm going to go over the rules. So first and foremost, it's 2 minutes to answer each question. So the people at Pleasantries will have 4 minutes altogether, and then Bill Meyer will have 2 minutes, and Imam Ismail will have 2 minutes. Please obviously respect someone's answer when someone's talking. You can either be muted or just, not say anything. Be professional. We are all professionals here. I just have to make sure I mention that as well. And then the audience, you may comment and ask questions, and we will try to share them with the panel as well. Obviously, questions, try to be as professional as possible as well. I mean, I have my team next to me. They're going to sort through the questions and also make sure that, we pick out the ones that are, obviously respectful. And for those that are watching, just message me for any future debates. I'm more than happy to sit down and have topics debated as well for anybody that wants a topic to discuss. With that said, let's start off with the opening statement. I'm going to start off with Pleasantries. So with that said, whoever from Pleasantries want to speak first, this is your opening statement.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Pleasantries is very happy to be here. We think that this is a wonderful example of social and community discourse on a topic that's, hot right now in the area. I just want to point out that we came here not to be right, but out of respect for the fact that people care about this issue and want to hear what we have to say on the topics. None of us are here to beat our opponents or to win this debate. We are simply here to explain where we're coming from, what we think about this issue, and why we believe we can be helpful to the city of Hamtramck. And we appreciate our opponents coming as well, because at the end of the day, the goal is for everybody involved and everybody watching to learn a little bit more and hear a little bit more about an apparently divisive issue, and hopefully, find some common ground and some points that we agree upon, but certainly not to proliferate the points that we don't.
Thank you. Does anyone else from Pleasantries want to speak with the opening statement?
No, we're good.
Okay, and I quickly want to say, because Zoom is not showing Imam Ismail for some reason, but Imam, can you speak for us right quick to make sure they can at least hear you, Imam Ismail?
Yes, I'm here. I was just muted, so I'm available.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Just want to make sure. Well, since you're unmuted, I'm going to let you say your opening statement, Imam Ismail. The mic is on you.
Yes, no. Hi, we welcome everybody as well. This is, of course, like was mentioned, this is something of interest And I was actually hoping that something like this would actually take place before the opening, of the quote unquote dispensaries. And that would have been actually, I would think that it would be a lot more productive. I mean, now, since they're already open or gonna open regardless, well, we just hope that, we can at least understand one another and how we feel, about one another and how we feel about the topic. And, maybe something good will come out of that. So I really don't really have no opening comments other than that. And I'll let Bill, say whatever he needs to say so we can get it started.
All right, Bill Meyer, this is your chance for your opening statement.
Okay, partner, who I just met a few minutes ago, who I find out is a brother of one of my heroes here in Hamtramck. Abdel El-Ghazali was a great councilman, a great person. I worked with him a lot. First of all, I want to thank you, Omar, for doing this. This is a difficult thing to get people together to even watch the debate on anything. So I appreciate the pleasantries for contributing to this and being willing to talk to the community. Hamtramck is a unique town. And our organization called One Hamtramck, and we're dedicated to peace and justice issues against racism, against Islamophobia, xenophobia. We believe in bringing people together, not dividing them. So our cause is always to bring people together. I'm not here, I'm not against marijuana, first of all. I'm in the music business, and hey, I know a lot of musicians who smoke marijuana and use it, and I have no problem with it. And I have no problem with dispensaries as long as they're clean and handled correctly and all that. And I don't have anything wrong with Muslims who don't want dispensaries in Hamtramck. I understand that too, so I support them. And I support the Muslim community who are targets of discrimination quite often in this country, as many of you know. So I'm coming from a different angle here. I'm not against any of you guys here. I'm trying to find a way for the community to come together on an issue that's really difficult. I've known for a long time that the Muslim community does not use marijuana. They have most of them don't. They have it in their religious doctrines that they don't support mind-altering drugs. We can debate the pros and cons of marijuana some other day. I'm not going to do that because I support it. I think it's a very wonderful drug in many cases. However, I am concerned that I consider this a justice issue more than anything else. I really feel the people of this city did not want this. They made it very clear. We did have public forum. And so that's my position. I'm defending the Muslim community and the other people who spoke out against having dispensaries in the city. And it's very obvious that the Muslim community is the majority in the city, but of course the opponents don't, not you guys, the opponents in the city don't agree that the Muslims are big enough to have this sort of a voice in the community. So that's where I'm coming from, but I appreciate Omar, thanks for having me here. Someone told me that I should be a representative for this, so I will be, but there's many people, I represent thousands of people in the city who think the way I do. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for the opening statements, and I'm quickly going to throw it out there too to the people that are watching. The reason why I got that emoji popping up is to also give the people that are on this panel, letting them know that there's 10 seconds left for their 2-minute. So I don't want you guys to think that you're just randomly popping up an emoji next to my head. So with that said, let's get this show started on the road. First question will be for pleasantries. And basically is the broad and it's the simple question of why should the residents of Hamtramck welcome a marijuana dispensary in the city?
It is beyond dispute that cannabis is one of the fastest growing industries in the United States. This is a fact. The cannabis businesses create economic revitalization, distressed property redevelopment, increased revenue, particularly from taxes, local employment opportunities, quick advancement for professional opportunities, enhanced neighborhood security, and increased surrounding property values. These things are not something I'm saying because they support my position. They are supported by objective fact. I have a list of probably 30 journal studies here that I'm happy to talk about or refer people to later on. These have been validated by people who are not on either side of this. And, if those things are true, then they do benefit there is great benefits to having cannabis added to one's community in a responsible way.
Ben, if I may, I'd add this, that my role as Director of Social Equity, in part, is looking at as we grow as a company, so to speak, as we do well, if you will, make sure that we do good. And part of that means we have to look at where we come from before we can see where we're going. And another undisputed fact is that the history of the prohibition of cannabis, we know, was racially motivated and not based in scientific fact. Frankly, it was a thing that's been targeted toward communities of color, as we very well know. And when you view it objectively, much of the ironic negative propaganda we see around the furtherance of wrongful prohibition, it's very similar to the same objection that we see that are voiced by many that may be opposed to cannabis dispensaries use, and even within the Hamtramck community. We know that right now the United States is going through a cultural awakening, right, when it comes to regarding cannabis. We've had 4 more states, I believe it was just this past November 2020, that did legalize use of marijuana. At this point, we have now, I think, the total number of states with legal recreational marijuana use is 15. Medical marijuana is 36 states. And the House of Representatives just passed a bill to propose some legislation to legalize cannabis at the federal level. So the landscape's changing. But we also make a point to look at, much of the stigma, if you will, attached to it was frankly for reasons that weren't necessarily rooted in an objective scientific fact about cannabis, but about how it was actually criminalized previously. And actually that informs all of our perspectives, to a degree.
You guys still have a minute and a half. You guys want to use it?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. So we've only actually been open for around 5 or 6 weeks. In that time, as a good corporate neighbor, we rehabilitated a 115-year-old building. We also donated money to multiple charities to try to help out with this trying time that everyone's going through right now. And that's not to say like we want, recognition for that. It's just we're trying to be a good neighbor. We gave away gift baskets. Ben, myself, we walked around to all of the neighbors around our store and introduced ourselves, just as, and gave gift baskets out with gift cards so people could actually buy some groceries for the holidays. Again, we know it's a tough time. We aided the community with this recent trash pickup on New Year's Day. We also hired 14 employees, 7 of which were from the immediate area. And, minimum wage right now is $9.65 an hour. We're paying $16 an hour. We're paying much more than anyone else is in a retail-based establishment. Our full-time employees get benefits. So we're actually, we're coming in as a business. Yes, we are a dispensary, but we're trying to be a good business and trying to do the best for the community. Like I said, we walked around, we introduced ourselves, made sure no one had any issues with our lighting, with anything that might disturb them.
All right. Thank you so much for answering that question. I'm gonna now dish it to Imam Ismail. Imam Ismail, the question.
I'll let Bill go first. I'll
Okay,
let Bill go first.
All right, Bill Meyer, if you want to, the first question to you is, why should the residents of Hamtramck be against a marijuana dispensary in the city?
Okay, well, I probably mentioned that in my first statement, but okay, so for those of you people who don't like me to mention religion, I'm sorry I have to say Muslim, the word Muslim, because some of you just don't want to admit there's Muslims here. And you don't want to talk about discrimination against Muslims. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not a religious person myself, but I know Muslims, because of their name, Muslim religion, they're discriminating against just like people of certain skin color. That's why I talk about religion. I'm not Islamic. I don't know the laws of Islam. I'm leaving that up to Imam to talk about, but I'm talking about these people because they're being discriminated against because they're Muslims in this country. That's why I use the word Muslim. That's why I bring up religion. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the socio-cultural situation of Muslims. This is a part of religion is part of culture, and this is a culture clash going on in Hamtramck here. We have people who are a very large segment of the community who are Muslim faith. Call them what you want to. Call them Yemenis, call them Bangladeshis, call them Bosnians. Those are most of the Muslims who happen to be here. I don't care if they're Muslim or not, or Catholic Christian or not. But when they're being discriminated against because of that, then I talk about Muslims. So if that helps you understand why I mention Muslims, I don't represent Muslims, I represent justice. And if white people or African Americans or anybody else were being discriminated against, which I think African Americans are, I am on the defense. With that, I would support that. Anybody that's not being treated fairly and with justice. So that's where I'm coming from. It's a justice issue here. And the Muslims in this city, who happen to be Yemenis, I'll say Yemenis and Bangladeshis, okay, if you're happy to hear that. 98% of Yemenis are Muslims, so I don't care if it's exchanging. They do not want dispensaries, and it's against their religion. Okay, so that's their reasoning. Now, they don't want to even talk about religion sometimes because most of them don't want to raise any trouble. They don't want to cause trouble with this issue. And I'll stay away from religion, except to say that this is a discriminated group, and they are the majority in the city, and they're not giving equal treatment, equal fairness. They spoke very loudly for years that they do not want the dispensaries in the city, and here they come in anyways. Now, there's another story we'll talk about later, is how they got here, and how some people think they snuck in under the wire, and there was planned attempts to pull this on the people of Hamtramck. And there's truth to a lot of that, but that's a different story. In the meantime, I don't think the Muslims want to hear it. I'm sure most white people don't care about it, because it is. Okay, let's leave it at that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate you. And then dishing it now to Imam Ismail. Same question is, why should the residents of Hamtramck be against a marijuana dispensary opening up, or that is already opened up in the city?
Okay, why not be against a marijuana dispensary? What's so special about a marijuana dispensary? What's this marijuana dispensary gonna do for the community? When you have these weak spots out there that are, saying that they're gonna be good for the community, what good will they do for the community? I mean, when you're talking about financial issue, we're gonna get to that. When it's for certain individuals to gain financial gain or have their own personal gain or their own financial gain, I mean, what other good could be gotten from a weed dispensary or a marijuana dispensary? You call it whatever you want. Well, what good will it bring when it turns our children, our communities, our youth into potheads, weed heads, and drug addicts and junkies, making them dumber, slower, non-productive, slaves to their own drug addictions? I don't know if everybody's understanding this or acknowledging or recognizing this, but I mean, weed is still a drug. Marijuana is still a drug. Just because you have a license now to sell it, it's still a drug. And it's still dangerously bad. And it's actually a gateway drug, as actually mentioned by Robert L. DuPont, who was the president of the Institute for Behavior and Health, and was the first director of the National Institute of Drug Abuse. He says in his article in the New York Times, he says marijuana use is positively correlated with alcohol and cigarette use, as well as other illegal drugs and legal drugs, or other illegal drugs like cocaine and methamphetamines. He says this doesn't mean that everyone who uses marijuana will transition to use heroin or other drugs. He says, but it does mean that people who do use marijuana also consume more. They consume more, not less. They consume more legal and illegal drugs than people who do not use marijuana. He also said in that article that people who use marijuana are 3 times more to use heroin in the future. I don't know if anybody knows this as well. If anybody's from Detroit or the surrounding areas of Detroit, or was born and raised in Hamtramck, or is living in Hamtramck now, but there's a heroin epidemic going on. Where do you think that came from? I mean, it had started somewhere, right? There was some type of drug that opened the door to heroin.
All right, thank you very much.
We the people of Hamtramck, we just like to thank the honorable and prestigious work, the charity work that is, being done on our behalf of our community, turning our youth in our communities, into these so-called, drug addicts and junkies and Lord knows what else.
All right, thank you, Imam Ismail. So I'm going to move on to the next question. Once we reach the halfway point, we are going to share some questions that we got from some of the panel. So we have 6 questions here. So once after we reach the 3 question mark, we will start sharing some of the questions from, not the panel, but from the viewers that are viewing right now. So the next question is, I'm going to start off with the people that are against the marijuana dispensary. And Bill Meyer, I'm going to start off with you again, if that's okay with you, if you're ready to roll. And
Why not?
the question basically against is one of the pros of having dispensary in a city, and they mentioned it from Pleasantries as well, is the revenue that it brings in. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I'd like more figures on exactly what amount of money these dispensaries are going to bring to the city. And I'm curious, how are we getting money from your dispensaries? Are we getting through taxes, how are we benefiting financially from your business here? I know you're a big business. You obviously have a lot of money to renovate this building, and you have 3 other buildings and all that. So you're a big business, this particular company. Personally, I'm a weed user from years ago where you used to grow it in your yard, and and nowadays it's legal to grow it. So I mean, I'm totally against the commercialization of marijuana also. I feel it should be free and available to those who want it. Now, you're capitalizing off of it, that's fine, you have to have a business, you have to make money. But that's not my approach. I believe it should be free. And I think that the money that we're gonna get from you is not gonna be anywhere near the money that people think we're gonna get from you. And all the dispensaries that are coming to wherever they're coming. I've seen no figures that show it's gonna be as much as some people expect it's gonna be. So that would be my first question. Of course, we'd like to have you in that building rather than have nothing in that building. That's much better. But what other kind of business? When you're desperate and you have no money, build marijuana dispensaries. I mean, is there nothing better than that? I guess maybe a library or no, we got one already, that's right. So if that's the best business we can do, that's a division we have in this city. And I'm ashamed that our country actually, not only this city, 1,400 cities in Michigan voted against this marijuana dispensary, by the way. We made a mistake in our city by letting it pass and screwed it up and all that. Now we're in a big mess now, but it's not only the people in this city who are against this, there's other kinds of people who are against it. I'm not against it, but I know in this city I'm against it because the people in the city don't want it. That's it. Thank you.
And before I give it to you, Imam Ismail, I am going to dish it to Pleasantries for you guys to maybe answer the question, because then it could also maybe lead to because you guys can answer basically of this is the same question of what are one of the pros of having dispensary in your cities, the revenue it brings in. Can you guys tell us more about that?
The revenue that comes into the city of Hamtramck by having cannabis outlets, three types, right? Property taxes, city income taxes, and Hamtramck's portion of the state imposed 10% excise tax. On the first instance, we're paying roughly $7,000 a year now in property taxes on a building that was abandoned for, I believe, the last 15 years and was a safety hazard. Our employees on city income tax, currently we're averaging about $2,500 a year, and as we get busier and hire more people, that number will go up. And based on my estimations of $450 million in business done in the state of Michigan this year, the city of Hamtramck, just based on our store, will receive $30,000 as their portion of the 10% excise tax. By 2024, the Michigan cannabis industry is estimated to reach $2 billion in retail sales. If you do that math, and presume the other licenses at play, it's going to clip 200,000 on the excise tax. There's also indirect trickle-down benefits as we employ more Hamtramck people at $16 an hour. They have more money to spend in their own community on restaurants and shopping, or improving their own homes, or moving or buying more things in their city that create additional tax. Hiring local contractors puts more money in more people's pockets that's spread out. There's a number of indirect financial benefits that flow off of this as well. I would also point out that there's no other sort of business that throws this type of money out when they come into a community. It's not required. It's not obligated. And, Bill mentioned the word desperate. Just to be clear, as of recently, the cities of Royal Oak, Waterford, Utica, Ferndale, Traverse City, Grand Rapids, and Petoskey have all opted in and are allowing marijuana businesses in their localities. Those places are not desperate. They're just smart, and they understand that this is a useful addition to their economic commerce if done responsibly.
Does anyone else from Pleasantries want to add on to that?
Nope.
No, not at the moment.
All right, Imam Ismail, dishing it back to you after everything you just heard about the profits that would be gained, the city of Hamtramck that they will gain from it. What are your thoughts on all that?
I'm saying, who cares? Who cares about all that financial stuff? You mean to tell me that the only way the city can make revenue is from these weed spots? There's no other kind of business whatsoever that will actually benefit the community except for a weed dispensary? I don't think so. Not only that, we have to stop talking about this issue, in these weed spots like they're beneficial to the city and the community. Let's be real. I mean, because the only people that care are the people that are making money off of it. It's not like they care about the community. It's not like they care about, the people that are living here. It's only a personal and a financial interest. Because I didn't receive any survey asking me about, these marijuana dispensaries, how I feel about them. Are they good for the community? Do we want them here before they took place? Nobody asked us how we felt about it before they opened, whether they should open or not. So let's not speak about it as if it's a blessing or, they're coming to, they're the saviors of the city and, they're going to rescue us from our doom. Because no one wants that weed money anyway. It doesn't matter how much it is. No one that I know, at least, is willing to sell his soul to the weed men, even if it does generate some type of income for the city. So, I think we need to address that matter first and foremost. We have to stop talking about it like it's, a benefit for the community and a benefit for the city and blah, 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 and all this other stuff like they're doing, like they're doing some kind of charity work or it's something righteous or moral or ethical or whatever you want to call it. Because if that was the case, then they could have came to the people or they could have presented it where, see if the people are backing it or are interested in it or want it. So, I'd at least appreciate, at least we could be honest with ourselves and stop talking about it like it's a community issue and that it's going to be, this golden egg for the community. Because it's not, because nobody wants it. The people here don't want it. They don't want these dispensaries. Simple as that. You could do all the charity work you want. You could do all this other stuff. Nobody really interested in that stuff. Because, it's, as Bill mentioned, it's a very conservative community. There's morals and ethics. So, if that's something that you don't care about, then, well, that's another topic.
All right, thank you so much, Imam Ismail. I don't know if pleasantries, you guys want to rebuttal off of that? Before we move on to the next question, I don't know if you guys wanted to say something or you guys want to just move on to the next question?
I'm pretty sure that the charities that we've helped so far wanted our help, and they were happy to have it.
All right, there you go. All right, thank you for letting us know. So let's move on to the third question. All right. One of the cons of having a dispensary, this is going to pleasantries, by the way, we're starting off with pleasantries. One of the cons of having a dispensary is the potential of crime coming to the city because of the dispensary. What are your guys' thoughts on crime?
Thanks, Omar. Actually, an increase in crime is a terrible misconception when it comes to cannabis. Numerous studies, some that have been done in our recent areas, actually show that direct correlation of increasing crime is not true. Crime actually goes down. The reasons for this are a lot of different reasons. Increased security in the area. We also decreased the black market sales, which were happening on the corners of multiple streets. For instance, at Pleasantries, our security system, we have 24-hour-a-day trained former military and police officers who are on site to deter any kind of theft, to deter any kind of issues, and to be there as a deterrent for everything. We have 46 360-degree cameras that view the interior and exterior of our building. We also have enabled automated locking doors, two-step verifications, and anytime a door is even open, anytime after hours, at any point, 4 people in our company are alerted. We assist law enforcement in solving crimes all the time at multiple locations, and we try to do that as an industry. Fake IDs that come in, any kind of thefts. Because we are mandated to put in so much additional security, we also help solve crimes. Just this past week, there was a couple of gentlemen, I'll use the term loosely, casing the area Hamtramck PD actually came by and we went through our video. We gave them 6 different slides for them to help solve crimes. There was multiple break-ins in the area that we helped give them evidence towards. At our Harrison Township locations, catalytic converters were being stolen in the factories. We were able to assist law enforcement with license plates. There's been so many times we've given a video out to help with the evidence to catch these people. In addition to all the security measures, cannabis is and always has been obtainable in Hamtramck. It's been obtainable everywhere. We've actually given it a regulatory basis by checking IDs, by ensuring that everyone is 21 years of age or above. We have actual software that identifies their identification to make sure that it's valid. We go through tons of training to ensure that no one under the age is getting access to this. So crime does not actually increase, it decreases. What was on that corner before we were there? A dilapidated building. We now have someone there, it's well lit, we have security, we have neighbors telling us how comfortable they feel having an additional security guard there. So in that respect, crime actually decreases because someone's actually there to help decrease it and deter crime.
So again, I would note that studies conducted by Regional Science and Urban Economics, the IZA Institute of Labor Economics, and the Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs have all found that this is supported by economic data in other states that have had cannabis programs longer. Colorado's moving on a decade of this. Okay, so they can look at what the numbers were and what they are now that things have normalized. This is backed by data, and I can refer anybody, or we can post links to all of this information at the end if that's something you want to help us out with, because we're not making it up. It's just a fact. It's just a fact.
All right, you guys have 45 seconds if y'all want to add anything else. Jerome, if you want to add anything.
No, nothing, Mike. That's exactly the point I would have made, that Ben just noted that, this is supported by data and supported by fact. And we appreciate the passion. We hear the passion. Again, back to really Ben's point I think early on, is part of the reason we're here. It's not to, quote, necessarily just change minds, but engage in hopefully stuff, a dialogue. And as both Bill and Imam said, hopefully we can help understand each other better, right? That's part of what this dialogue helps bring forward. And that what we're saying isn't necessarily feeling or emotion based, but it's based on us having done our research, and that no matter what, we want to be a good community partner. And that matters to us sometimes.
I would also note that on the issue of crime, noted that there's a heroin issue in the city. There's a heroin issue in a lot of places, including where I live and where a lot of us live. That starts with prescription pills, not cannabis. Okay, prescription pills lead to opioid addictions, and there's proof that cannabis can be a useful substitute for those people who are struggling with that sort of substance. So just another thought there as far as criminality and increasing or decreasing that manner of activity.
All right, thank you very much for your input. And now I'm going to be dishing that to Bill Meyer now. The question is the same question, and I'm sure you've heard the con, one of the main cons from people from the community is that having dispensaries, the potential of crime coming to the city. So what are your thoughts on it, Bill Meyer?
Well, as an activist most of my life for peace and justice issues, I know it's the war on drugs that's caused most of the problems in our country. And I think that there's been mass incarceration of black youth who wouldn't even be in prison if there were no laws against marijuana. That's a crime itself. And now that marijuana is legal, the first thing they should do is let all those prisoners out of prison immediately that are not doing anything wrong to current standards. Speaking aside of that, I want to say in Hamtramck, when we moved here 20 years ago, there was a lot of crime here. And it's a poor city. I don't know if you guys know that. Hamtramck is actually the lowest capita per income in Michigan. So when I'm saying we're desperate for money, I'm not saying we're desperate for this business. This is a poor city. And a lot of the people who live here are very conservative religiously. I don't speak for Muslims. I don't speak for Bosnians. I don't speak for even white people. I don't speak for. I'm speaking myself here. I study this stuff and I see what people say. And I know what Muslims are saying, what Yemenis, Bangladeshis, and all those are saying. So I'm not speaking for them. I'm telling you how I interpret what I see. And I know, and I talk to many, many people about this issue in this city. And I think the best thing that happened in the city since I've lived here is that the Muslim population, which is Bosnian, Yemeni, and Bangladeshi, have created a feeling in this city of safety and security. drugs and crime have gone down because of them being here. This is a safe city. Hamtramck is the unique city in the world. Maybe you also don't know, and some of these folks opposing this or whatever don't accept the fact that this is a Muslim majority city, and it's the only one probably in the entire Western Hemisphere. Think about that, from the North Pole to the South Pole on this hemisphere. This is the only city that's a majority Muslim. It's very unique. Why can't we acknowledge that and recognize that these people in this city might think different than a lot of us do? You know, we live in a deeply divided country, and we have to find ways to find common ground and work together and show respect for each other. And I don't agree with the Muslim community about marijuana, and as far as all the things wrong with it. But I also feel that they're people that have to be recognized and respected. Like if it's my family, I think of them as my family. I mean, why would I diss them and put them out? I'd listen to them and see what they want. You want to work together and find out what people want. I'm sure you guys came into this city with this dispensary not knowing anything about the history of Hamtramck. Or maybe you didn't even know that this was the only Muslim majority city in the Western Hemisphere. I don't know if you knew that or not, but this is a very unique town. Why can't you put your dispensary in Detroit and Ann Arbor and Royal Oak and all these other places? There's still 1,300 cities that don't want it. So I think you should recognize this uniqueness of this city. That's really where I'm coming from. Other than that, I want to find respect with everybody, even my white compatriots who disagree with the Muslim position on this. I think we have to find a way to work together.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. And I know Pleasantries, you guys had a reaction towards that comment about not knowing what you guys get into, but I'm gonna let you guys say that after Imam Ismail says his answer, then I'll let you guys rebuttal off of both of their comments. So Imam Ismail, same question to you. One of the cons of having dispensaries is the potential of crime coming to the city because of dispensaries. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, that's just one of the cons, pertaining to the crime or the physical or tangible aspect of it, if you want to call it that. Well, what about all the other cons? What about the health issues it will cause? What about all the psychological issues it will cause, the emotional issues it will cause? How about maybe the domestic issues it will cause? The people in the community here, between the father and the son, between the brother and the siblings, between the neighbors, between the wife and her pot-headed husband. How much financial issues will it cause for this individual? Instead of buying food, for his family or milk for his baby, he's going to spend that money, to go get his fix, or to buy drugs or intoxicants. There's a long list of negative ramifications in regards to marijuana or weed, whatever you want to call it. Now, but did they stop and ask themselves, these questions before, they decided to open up shop? Of course not. Or else I believe they would have reconsidered. But like I said, since it's just for personal gain, it's not in the best interest of the city or the community as a whole, I don't think that they were, they cared at all in regards to opening up here in Hamtramck.
All right, thank you.
That's why, like I said, if they could just gain a little bit of respect, if you just admit, that they opened these weed spots for their own personal and financial interests and motives. And it's not because of the community. Believe me, it is not because of the community.
All right, thank you, Imam Ismail. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. So, Pleasantries, I'm gonna let you guys rebuttal off of both of their comments. I know, Ben, did you want us to add on into something?
I would just note that my grandparents lived their whole lives in Hamtramck. I'm from Polish descent. I was deeply involved in the local music industry in Detroit when I was a younger man and have played shows in every venue in Hamtramck. Spent a lot of time there at the music festivals, and I'm very anxious for the end of the pandemic so that we can start to contribute to Hamtramck's local art and music scene again, because it's awesome and it's something that I had a really good time participating in when I was younger. Eric, you want to tell them about your history in Hamtramck?
Yeah, I actually grew up in Hamtramck. I lived there until I was 12 years old. Our building, my grandparents were actually married in. My grandfather was a detective in the city of Hamtramck. My uncle was as well. That's pretty much the reason I am where I am right now. So my grandfather also ran for city council. He was one of the most decorated police officers ever in the Citizen paper, almost every week for things he did. So it was very important to me when I found out that Hamtramck was a possibility to come back there to rehab a building next to, a area that I literally grew up on Eveline. I lived on Lehman when we first were there, and then on Eveline. So we're from the city. I took my grandmother there every year for Punchki Day to New Palace Bakery. We went to the restaurants there every year, still do. So we are a part of the city. Ben's grandparents, my grandparents lived there till their death. So we are from the city. And I respect, everyone's opinions from the city, but we're not outsiders. We're from there.
One other thing I just quickly notify too, Ken, as well, Omar, is not a Hamtramck native or resident, but I am a Detroit native. As Bill mentioned something about us, where we come from. I'm born from the west side of Detroit, 7 Mile Lodge. Detroit high schools, middle schools, all that. And this issue matters to me, and I appreciate the comments about criminalization of cannabis, the war on drugs, people that look like me, right? I mean, I get it. I relate to it and connect to it. So we certainly have a ton of respect for the opinions, and even the differing opinions of those, not just within the Hamtramck community, people of different faiths, whether or not we identify with those faiths or not. I mean, I'm a man of great faith, but of a different religion, and can understand those opinions that they exist, even within my faith. So I say that to say that, we make it a point to move with a level of respect, move in compliance with law at all times, and at every phase be corporate citizens in what we do. Our job ain't here to necessarily convince why we think cannabis is good and why, as Imam said, we probably understand there are certain impacts that may be negative, to the human body. We don't need to dispute what are good and all that. Our whole point is to share that we are from the community, we have roots there, and it does genuinely matter to us.
All right, thank you guys very much for that statement. This is pretty much the halfway mark. Imam Ismail, I see that you unmuted yourself. Did you want to add something to those comments? All right, I think you just, Imam?
No, not yet.
Okay, so we reached the halfway point, so this is kind of like the intermission. We are going to share some questions. We're going to just do 2 questions, one from each side. So this is going... All right, so we, by the way, I got my team with me here as well. I appreciate my team supporting me. So this one is for pleasantries. We got a commenter, Mr. Hamtramck Square, and it said, what did the dispensaries think going into a community who voted against medical marijuana, and because some council members and mayor who do not represent the majority allow it? Just a little typo there. So I guess the question is, what are your thoughts on opening a dispensary where the community voted against medical marijuana, basically?
I would start by saying in every community that we initially enter into, or any cannabis operator enters into, there's always a subgroup of that community that is against cannabis. And this again stems from many decades of cannabis prohibition, which were initially motivated by our ulterior motives with the federal government, not because cannabis justifiably should have been scheduled as a Schedule I drug. So we're used to seeing opposition everywhere. Our position is we can do a great amount of good for the people that choose to use cannabis responsibly in their lives, or even those who just appreciate some of the added benefits we bring to the community. And we don't believe we do any harm to those folks who don't appreciate us or understand our culture and what we're trying to accomplish. So if you were to say to me, Ben, why don't you just go into a city where everyone's happy to have you? The answer is none of them exist. Because cannabis is a new issue socially in this country. And we 10 years ago, there were very few states. Now the majority of Americans live in a place that allows some form of cannabis. And our federal government, for the first time, has now acknowledged that maybe this whole thing was a mistake. So we enter a community understanding that some folks are going to be against us and think that we're not going to do good, or that are believing some of those old and what I would suggest to be archaic beliefs about cannabis. And we hope to support and help the people that want to interact with us, and to do no harm to the ones who don't. And I believe that we effectuate that goal in all instances, and that's the basis upon which we enter a community. More to that point, I understand that there was a vote at some point about opting out, and it failed. I was not there. We did not do all of the research about why it failed, but it was not brought back again. And for many, many months after that, there was no opt-out ordinance. That signals to us that the city is a place that would, that we can enter into. We fixed the building. We've made a dead corner live again. And I just, continue to suggest that I don't understand what all the animosity is about in light of that.
Anyone else from Pleasantries want to add on to that? All right, thank you very much. And so the question now for the people that are against it. So I'll start off with you, Bill. Do we ask any other business to justify themselves? Do we ask every hookah shop and dollar shop to justify themselves? They pay the same property and income taxes that every other business and some of our council people do. So they basically, the basis of the question is, do we ask any other business to justify themselves? Bill Meyer.
I don't think that's an issue, but I wanted to respond to what they had just answered on the last question. But
Feel free, go ahead. You can respond to that one, and then I'll re-ask the question if you like.
I sort of forgot what it was, but let's see. What was the question that was asked to those people? The last one from Hamtramck Square. What did the dispensaries think about going in the community against medical marijuana?
Yeah, that the majority voted against it.
Yeah, and because some council members and mayor who do not represent the majority let it all happen. You didn't read that part.
I read it the first time. I didn't read it the second time.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm just coming down to the major point here. Sure, you should treat everybody equally. Every business should be treated fairly. No question about it. The hookah shop's always brought up because, that's the reaction to the marijuana against the marijuana thing. So hookah shops are cigarette places. I mean, that's tobacco. Tobacco is bad for you too, but it's illegal. And now marijuana is legal. So there's some states that have even legalized heroin and other things. I mean, so this is the way we're going, guys. Let's face it. We got to find a way to deal with these critical problems in our society. Opioids are the number one killer. More people die of opioids under the 50 years old than any other cause of death. There's a lot of problems in our society. This marijuana one is not one of them, except in this city. And I don't want to tell these guys again that this is the main point why people are against it. I guess you're not getting this. But the Yemenis, the Bosnians, some of the Bangladeshis, I would say a majority of the Yemenis and Bangladeshis, I would say, but sure, there's no proof of anything. But what I hear in the city and what I've heard for years, for 10 years or more, is that marijuana is not acceptable in their culture. They don't want dispensaries in the city. And they've said it for many years before you guys even thought of coming to the city. And now it's on them. And how it happened is a problem that can be discussed at another time. So if you don't understand that one reason why people are against you, that's it. They're not against you personally or nothing like that, or your business personally. Try to understand I don't want to pull up any parallels or metaphors, but let's just say that other people are against other things for other reasons. It happens in every city, every community. I'm just saying, show respect to what is maybe, if it's not the majority of the city, it's very close to it, if you want to accept that. They're people. They live next to us. They're our neighbors. There's many of them. We treat them like friends, like neighbors, not just people of our own color. We try to treat each other equally as if we're concerned about what your concerns are. So I'm concerned about what a lot of my Muslim friends think about this. And that's why I'm supporting their position, because I want to live with them. I want to be here with them, and I want to live with the white folks here too, and I want to live with everybody equally. Why fight each other? I mean, why call each other names and all this? Let's try to find a way to find common ground and work together. This dispensary did not help the situation at all, because it happened in the wrong way. So it's not your guys' fault. You came into a hot spot, and where it's not over yet for sure. We're still dealing with the petition that stopped the ordinance, and then there's going to be a reaction to that, then there's going to be a reaction to that. I don't think it's helpful to the city at all to deal with this in this way. And if anybody, I always felt if anybody wants to get any marijuana anywhere, they can go to this place down there in Russell. It's not in Hamtramck. I mean, it's not your place, I'm sorry, but I mean, you can easily, or you can have a place right over there on Holbrook past the freeway and sell online and deliver it to people in Hamtramck. And you can still make billions of dollars, and give us nothing. So it's all right. We'll just let you have it. People are buying online now, so what's the difference? I don't see how we're going to make money from all these dispensaries, to be honest, that much money.
All right, thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate it. And Imam Ismail, I'm gonna add a little twist to this question, just so maybe you can answer this, because this is something that was asked a couple times when I posted this, and people want to know the answer to this. And since you're an Imam, you're a great guy to come to for this. And the question basically is, a lot of Muslims that oppose this, they open up hookah shops. There's some Muslims, obviously we're not here to judge anybody, but they're Muslims, they open up hookah shops, they smoke cigarettes, there's that qats issue, and then there's also, people that gamble, blah, blah, blah. So the question basically is, what are your thoughts when people are opposing marijuana but are not opposing those other things?
Well, there's a contradiction in itself. I mean, that's the whole point here. That's why I don't know if the panel there at Pleasantries is understanding this matter, and it's a moral issue. When it comes to us, it's a moral issue. And, just because something is legal doesn't make it right. We believe that just because something is legal doesn't make it right. Just like alcohol, just like tobacco, just like the hookahs or the bongs or whatever that is being smoked, or the different other types of, just because it's something like they say, well, this is something from the earth. Just because it's from the earth or it's a plant doesn't mean it could harm you. And, just because it becomes legal all of a sudden, it doesn't make it moral or ethical or right. And that's what we're talking about. And that's why, I don't know. I think one of the gentlemen there mentioned, he said, animosity. I don't know if it's really animosity. It's just, there has to be an understanding. That has to be understood that this can never be accepted, and it will never be accepted. It's not like, oh, you're going to be here for 5 years, 10 years, and then you're going to do all this charity work, and you're going to, throw around all these little baskets everywhere, and, everything, it's just going to go away. It's not going to go away. And it's definitely, like, Bill mentioned, he said it's definitely in the wrong place to open a weed dispensary. Definitely in the wrong place. You couldn't pick a worse place. Well, maybe it was good for you, maybe because of the rent, or, you didn't have to really spend that much. But like I said, that's your own personal and financial gain. But when you go back to the community and how they feel, that's exactly how they feel. Just because something is legal doesn't make it moral. And so when we're trying to live a moral life, an ethical life, we're trying to teach our children right and wrong. And they see these weed spots. Oh, hey, Dad, can I get some weed? It's legal. Can I get some liquor? It's legal. Maybe in 20 years, heroin's going to be legal. Can I go to the casino? It's legal. Can I go to this one place that's legal? Just because it's legal doesn't make it moral, doesn't make it right. Just because you got a license doesn't make it right. That's what you're failing to understand. But of course, maybe, like I said, you don't care. Maybe you don't care at all. Because if you did, maybe you would reconsider. Just maybe. And so let's talk about that.
So
how we can...
Go ahead, Imam Ismail. Did you want to finish your last statement? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I'll get to it.
Okay. So, there goes that. We shared a couple of questions from the audience. I don't know if you guys wanted to rebuttal Pleasantries. Go ahead, Jerome.
Just quickly, if you might be able to. Thanks, Omar.
No problem.
And I appreciate those comments. And something I want to dovetail back to what Bill said earlier. And that was about bridging gaps. And that there's a lot of discussion. And frankly, we certainly respect any objections to cannabis retail, cannabis use, cannabis culture in general, based upon religious beliefs. And at no point will we endeavor or dare step in to challenge those objections in any capacity. We'll be very clear about that. So in using the term respect, we absolutely respect everyone's religious, moral beliefs, personal beliefs, norms, not just of the Muslim faith, but those that may not be of the Muslim faith, people across the board. And we would submit also humbly that there's people probably within the Hamtramck community that aren't of the Muslim faith as well. And so as Ben shared earlier, when we talk about when we walk in and we make sure that we are compliant with laws or things of that nature, it's because it's respecting the voting population, what they either chose to do or did not choose to do. But we want to be very careful that when we're saying we're respecting one end, that doesn't mean we disrespect the other or vice versa. And it's an interesting point you mentioned, Mom, and I would share this. It's a bit of a rhetorical question, if you will. For us all to think about is that while we know that we would not endeavor to dive into religious argument, we're not going to create one because it's not our place. It's not our place to do that. We would note that Hamtramck has over 40 bars, I think over 30 liquor stores, several hookah lounges we talked about, and all these businesses sell, from at least my understanding and from what scientific fact they objectively say, mind-altering substances and addictive substances, which are known to frankly be more dangerous than cannabis. I mean, alcohol in particular, we see the word liquor, we talked about that, right? And what we humbly ask is that anyone that objects to the presence of the cannabis dispensary based on religious concern, understandably, or even some moral concern, maybe it's not based on religious faith, simply ask yourself why those other businesses may be tolerated or may not be the same objections, and someone like a Pleasantries is or is not. And we respectfully submit that wrongful stigmatization, I think, just draws us back to what we talked about earlier, and that is that war on drugs, and that the actual stigma associated with cannabis, the actual cause of that inconsistency is based in this former war on drugs that was geared toward communities of color. And our hope would be that Hamtramck's population, this is the community that we're in, we're community partners, we're here, keep an open mind and question some of those preconceived notions, question what's really fueling, what you may like or not like about cannabis. Our job is not trying to convince you that cannabis is so awesome or something like that, but think about the root of it and think about how we compare it to other things, and are we applying this stigma in a way that's unfair and a way that's biased, to kind of use Bill's thing earlier and talk about making sure we're bridging gaps, making sure we're treating things equal. Treat these businesses equal, I think, in our view of them as well, and challenge those preconceived notions that may be motivated by religious, moral, or other based objections. So we would just submit that humbly, and also know we fully respect other beliefs, but we respect all beliefs across the board.
All right, thank you for that statement, Jerome. I appreciate it. So now we're going to move on to the questions that I had prepared. First of all, I know we're at the halfway point. I want to quickly mention, with all the stuff that's going on in the country, us being able to get together and talk about our differences is a big stepping stone, moving forward. Whatever it may be, we can all agree to disagree. Just want to quickly share that while we're halfway through. So going back to Pleasantries, the next question, I seen a video on social media, and basically an issue that the residents had was that, there's long lines of customers, that brought traffic to the residential areas where people live. Then the person that posted the video was mentioning that there was like loud noises, had been a complaint from some residents. So how is this something that you guys will address over at Pleasantries?
Well, thank you, Omar. The one day we did have a long line, we ran a Black Friday 50% off sale, which resulted in about 350 visitors visiting the store. That admittedly did create traffic and congestion, but we aren't planning to do that again. And if we do end up doing any kind of sale again, which when we did this sale, we were in contact with law enforcement the entire time. In the event of any interruption in traffic, anything, they were willing to help us out to control the flow of traffic. We put a lot of measures in place that we're not interrupting traffic at all around any of our locations. All of our staff are trained to make sure that there's no loud music blaring, that people are coming in and out. The normal customer wait time is only a few minutes. With COVID, we actually had to pivot to a curbside model so that the customer wait time is even quicker. So they're coming in and out. There's no time to even wait. So what we're trying to do, there isn't really going to be long lines, and we have all of the fail-safes put in place so that there won't be loud music, loitering, anything of that way. We're under strict regulations to ensure that doesn't happen. And like I said, in the event of any kind of sale, anything going on in the city, we already have plans with law enforcement in place to ensure that there's no interruption of traffic of any kind. And that in the event, when Ben and I went and met with all our neighbors, we said, if there's ever anything that bothers you, whether it be light, noise, anything at all, feel free to come talk to us. We'd be more than happy to alleviate those concerns or work with you to correct.
I would also add, there was a comment about the gift baskets we gave away to our neighbors. It wasn't about the little snacks and stuff that was in them. It had our contact information in it directly, our phone numbers. So if anybody that's surrounding the store happens to experience some manner of inconvenience or concern, we've given out our personal contact information. And we got a security guard there all the time. And we're going to take care of it. You just got to ask. We are here to work with you. You simply have to let us know if there's an issue. We haven't had any sort of issue since the last time we ran that sale. Another one's not planned at any point in the near future, and I would submit that on a normal business flow day, I'm yet to hear a complaint about traffic or noise from anybody, but our contact was in those baskets to every single house around us for that exact reason.
Yeah, Omar, if I just know one additional point, I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier about the unique nature of this business and that we are not tone deaf and that we're fully aware of the tension. And as Ben mentioned earlier, no matter what municipality city you go into, there's always a group of individuals, naturally be the majority, because majority cannabis probably isn't there to go in this process to happen that way. But there's always some group of that are not supportive of us. So we try to make a point to go above and beyond because you don't see if Target has a long line, they block their driveway, or a certain store has a long line because they're going to run a sales or restaurant, they're not going to apologize last time for it, right? They're not going to go out of their way. We made it a point to create those community contacts. Know that you can reach out to these guys personally, the personal capacity, give us a call if there's an issue. How can we work together to rectify this, and prevent that from going forward? So that goes back to the same thing with gift baskets and our security approaches and all that.
All right, thank you guys for your statements. And so the same question will be given to Bill Meyer. And also Imam Ismail. So obviously, as I mentioned, an issue for residents around Pleasantry is that there are long lines of customers bring traffic to residential areas where people live. Why can this be a problem, Bill Meyer?
Why is this gonna what?
How can this be a problem? The long lines and the traffic.
I'm sorry, I can't support that premise. First of all, I'm not sure that would happen with this dispensary. So, like I say, I'm not on either side of this battle here. I'm trying to play a moral ground as much as I can help with. I think that this, first of all, we got to cool it on the Facebook comment section. I mean, these people are just really, some of them are saying offensive stuff, and I really think that we have to talk like adults to each other. I'm willing to answer any question anybody has to me, but you don't have to insult me or anybody else at this panel. We're not insulting each other in this discussion. And let's open it up for facts. I want facts, and I'm afraid that some of the stuff mentioned tonight is not necessarily facts, so I don't support the lies, of course. However, as far as what it's going to create in the city, I don't know what it's going to create in the city. I don't think marijuana is the problem in that sense. Like I'm saying, my major concern is that we're not respecting the people who live in the city like we should, because they feel that however they believe, whatever they believe in, and not only religion, it's part of their culture, whatever. They eat this kind of food, drink that kind of stuff, smoke that kind of stuff, whatever. Those people, I love those people. I love all the people in Hamtramck. This is a great city. And all we got to do is find a way to work with each other. And it's not working together when you step on more than half the people in the city and say, screw you, I don't care about what you think about whether this is smart or not, or whatever. You got to dialogue. You got to talk to people. This was not discussed enough. We had like 2 or 3 panic public meetings that talked about this, and it was obvious that the vast majority of people in the city that came to these things anyways, in the Muslim community, were against these dispensaries. So whatever mistruths that exist here on either side or whatever, we have to learn to understand the facts and work together as partners in this. We can't keep calling each other names, and I'm not talking about here at all. I'm talking about in the city when we have meetings and stuff, council meetings and whatever else is on Facebook. I mean, this social media has gotten to the point where you can pretty much type and say anything you want and hide behind a name that you don't, nobody even knows who you are and all that. I'm Bill Meyer, and I'm saying what I feel, and it's straightforward. I'm not hiding what I believe, and I want to find a way to work with everybody here. This dispensary is doing this for money. There's no question about it. I worked in the advertising business all my life. I'm in the music business, and I did a lot of work in advertising. I know how advertising works. I know when you put product placement, when you have to promote a product. Hey, we'll give you a special deal. If you buy today, you're going to get this Cadillac over here. If you do this tomorrow, or we'll supply you, we'll pay for your football games, or we'll do this, or whatever. Sure, we know how that works. How do we know you're sincere? How do we know you're just doing that so you can make more profit? That's really the bottom line. I don't know you personally. Maybe you're good guys and you really feel that way, or maybe you just really see a lot of money in the marijuana industry, like everybody else feels. I hate to say it. I hope you're disillusioned, but there's so many dispensaries coming up. Like, I think Highland Park just okayed 35. Detroit, I don't know how many they have. I mean, what are you guys going to do when there's such intense competition? Are you really going to make your billions that you thought you were going to make? I don't know. It's going to be dog eat dog for marijuana.
All
I don't think I'm worried about the problems that you're building there at all. I just think I'm worried about how the people in the city feel about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. Imam Ismail, I'm gonna pass it to you. Same question. An issue for residents around Pleasantries is that the long lines of customers bring traffic to residential areas where people live. Why and why can this be a problem?
Of course, it could be a problem. It's a huge problem. I mean, what if a person, they say that they lived in Hamtramck or they're familiar with Hamtramck, and I've lived in Hamtramck my whole life. And one of the biggest issues, like between neighbors, is these little parking spots. Because there are these parking spots that are, unfortunately, people are very territorial, naturally. So, if there's this big old huge line near my house, I can't get to my house, I can't get to my parking spot after a long day of work. What do you think that's gonna bring? How do you think that problem's gonna be solved? And so when you say you have the security guard and I gotta call and I gotta do this, why do I have to do all that? Why couldn't there be any consideration beforehand? Why do I have to, after a long day of work, have to call somebody, wait for somebody to come, and I gotta sit there and wait for you and to do all that stuff just so you can respect my space? So, I mean, it's not just an issue of parking spots, man. It's not just an issue of parking spots, or because the city's already congested as it is. I mean, they say they lived in Hamtramck. You know how congested Hamtramck is already. So you get this weed spot that's, gonna be blowing up, or, it's gonna be having all these cars and all the time. And, of course, that's never something good. Who wants more congestion to a city that's already congested? So, you have to deal with these lines of people, in front of this place that they're not there for an emergency. It's not, they're not there for emergency purposes. It's not a must where, I have to be patient. I have to, have some type of empathy and understand. No, these people are just there just so they can get their fix. And just so they can get their, their medical, quote unquote, medical marijuana, or whatever you want to call it. That's unacceptable, man. It's really unacceptable. And going back to the moral, and there's another thing. Unfortunately, the panel keeps mentioning this. The panel of the Pleasantries keeps mentioning that they have some people, or every city that they go to, they have some people that are against them, or whatever the case may be. And this is not something, or this is something that they're familiar with, or that they go through already. Well, this is not a city that some people are against. This is the city where the vast majority of people are against you. So you said, sometimes, the only thing you could do is ask, and, we'll be happy to do this. Well, okay, so I tell you, and I ask you, if we ask you to leave, will you leave? If we ask you to change your business, will you change your business? Now, how serious are you to cater to the wants of the people?
Okay. Thank you for your statement. So now we are going to move on to the next question. So this is how we're going to do these last couple questions or comments. So I'm going to read off the question, and I'm going to start off with Bill for this one. And then I'm going to move on to Imam Ismail, and then I'm going to give it to Pleasantries. And then we'll read off, we're going to do any more questions from the questions from people. My team is showing me that there's some non-professional questions. I don't know if we want to share those questions. And there's nothing, you can't find anything positive over there in the question box.
Oh, I got a good one.
Yeah, what is it? I mean, go ahead.
Our councilman Ian on the comments here said, "What has Bill ever done for the city?" He's my councilman, Ian Perota. If you want, I'll send a bio to you, Ian, but I don't want to make the whole list of stuff here. And maybe you send me the bio stuff you've done too. I'd like to know, other than the baseball thing you've done. I know, but these personal attacks are not necessary. Are not really important. This is private shit here, and we don't have to deal with that. There's people in the city who don't like, the white people especially, who don't like me because I speak up for some other people who don't have a voice sometimes. I wish they had a voice and they would speak forward, but I'm expressing my opinion because I want to try to fight for justice in the city, and I feel there's people being discriminated against.
All right,
Simple as that. So I think ultimately,
okay,
we ought to just all get together and eat at some cafe like some guy suggests here, and have a tea together and try to get along. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna ask that one, and we're gonna find one also for the other side, as well. The one that Joseph, I think, Will had a good question. So, I'm gonna ask pleasantries this question that was asked from the panel. I mean, from the viewers. They're scrolling through right here. So, yeah, that's for for them. We're gonna go to pleasantries first. What was the question that was just down there? Yeah. So the question was, to you guys is, would you guys live next to a dispensary? And that's for pleasantries.
Okay. So I would first note that there's generally controls for how close stores can be or not be. In this instance, in Hamtramck, like we know it's a packed city. My municipality where I live recently opted in to allow cannabis stores. Pleasantries is trying to get one. I'm very happy to see that happen because it's going to refab a number of buildings in my municipality that need new economic activity. And the short answer is absolutely, I would have no problem whatsoever being closely residentially located to a cannabis facility for all the reasons that we've summarized before with regard to crime, security, increased economic opportunities, and the like. I would also note that where Mr. Mack lives, we actually ran a popular vote referendum. This company did. It was essentially 50-50. And so, you know, he's generally had no objections to that either. The answer is yes.
And you guys, and Jerome?
I actually will be. There will be a building within a mile of my house that's going to be a cannabis store in the next year, and that's fine with me.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And then for the people that are against dispensaries, Imam Ismail, I'm gonna ask you this one first. Someone asked, what makes you think that the dispensaries is going to bring in trouble or robberies?
Because what the dispensaries are selling causes people not to be in their right state of mind. You know, going back to the original argument, you know, just because something is legal doesn't make it moral. And so if you're dealing with these things that are, you know, altering the state of your mind, you're no longer thinking straight. Whether it's alcohol, whether it's marijuana, whether it's heroin, whether it's cocaine, whatever it is, whether it's an upper, whether it's a downer, whatever the case may be. And so if you're having something that's altering your state of mind, you're no longer thinking straight. And so if you're not thinking straight, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to do something moral and ethical and right, or you're going to do something wrong. And so, I mean, of course.
All right, and then Bill, are you like? Is this?
Ben wants to respond to that.
Okay, go ahead, Ben.
To the extent that we're being asked to put our personal selves out on this debate, I've been a probably daily cannabis user since I was about 15. I've never been convicted of a crime. I have excellent credit. I've never not paid my taxes. I graduated in the top of my law school class and worked for one of the most prestigious law firms in the state for almost a decade. I believe I am a decent father. I work every day to be a good husband. I think I have a lot of people that would speak well about me and how I conduct my affairs. And I would just generally point out that the preconceived notion that people who use cannabis are doing so irresponsibly or are dangerous or not in their right minds is, again, rooted in propaganda that was put out and has been perpetuated by the federal government for several decades and created a terrible war on drugs and has wrongfully hurt a lot of lives. And I would ask that people please offer a little bit more tolerance and consideration of cannabis users and people in the cannabis community, because there are many of us, and you don't notice because we're normal and just like you.
Okay, thank you for that statement, Ben. I appreciate it. So, Bill Meyer, do you want to touch on that? I know you're not against marijuana being in the city, so I don't know what your thoughts are on that question. That basically is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'll answer it. First of all, I think Ben's wrong. You're not all normal, by the way. That's a overstatement. That's a different thing than drugs. Good people use marijuana and bad people use marijuana. The marijuana is infected. There's, just like any other kind of thing, there's victims of marijuana, there's victims of heroin, victims of alcohol. Alcohol's killed many, many, many more people than marijuana ever did. And opioids are bad. So, I mean, I have a lot of friends who are normal, if you want to use the word, but I have a lot of friends who are sort of weird that also smoke. So it's not the weed thing I'm saying, just being a little facetious with you, Ben. I think that we should not care about people who use marijuana. They're my friends, and I accept them. And I accept Muslims, I'll say it again, my friends who are Muslims, I accept them being concerned and against their position against marijuana dispensaries in the city. I support marijuana. I support marijuana users, and I support Muslims who want to ban marijuana dispensaries in the city. So if you can figure those three things go together, I think that can work. So let's try to do that. I would never I use marijuana in my life. My wife uses medical marijuana. It saved her. There's no question about it. Medical marijuana is valuable. I don't think you need marijuana regular for recreational use. You don't need alcohol, but people choose to use it. That's their choice. It's fine. I've tried to stop taking anything. I have no drugs in my body and no marijuana in my body as much as I can, so I can deal rationally with the world. When I can't handle the world, I might want to get out of it. But for other reasons, people use marijuana. It's fine with me. I have a lot of good friends who use it. But as far as the question about, what was the question about the community?
Basically, he's asking, how would you know that it will bring robberies and
that was the previous question. No, I don't want to discuss that because I don't think we have enough statistics on that. Certainly, alcohol causes a lot more problems than marijuana does.
All right, thank you so much.
I think we should be concerned about alcohol, if anything.
And so I guess this is what I'm gonna let you start off for the next question. It's the fifth question. This is not the final word. This is not the final statement. This is just a question. So if there's one message you want to send to the Hamtramck community or to Pleasantries, what would it be and why?
Okay, fine, thanks. Well, there's a lot of contentious issues. This is only one of them. There's a lot of bigger issues that are going on in the world, and I'm sure many of you are aware that our Yemeni brothers and sisters in this city are facing the worst humanitarian crisis back home in their homeland, in Yemen. I mean, when you see people that are dealing with their families being massacred and murdered in their own country by bombs that our country, by the way, has been dropping on their country through Saudi Arabia, these are the things that Yemenis are most concerned about. I'm sure they would be more concerned about their family being bombed to death back in their homeland than marijuana dispensaries. We just have to show a little more interest, knowledge, compassion for each other in this city. I know a lot of people have their personal stories. A lot of people have different forms of illnesses. Ultimately, I don't want to have an argument with anybody, to be honest. I want to find a way that we can probably communicate. I mean, I see that there's channels, and I've worked with many groups that try to find common ground, and we've done this with our organization, Hamtramck. We've sponsored many forums and events over the last 20 years for the public to attend, and they're up on our Hamtramck Facebook page. Many meetings about issues of dealing with the Muslim community, dealing with elections, and I mean, our group has done a lot for the city and in the form of education and trying to help bring people together. So I don't want to say anything here that's going to piss anybody off, to be honest. If you think I'm not saying anything right, I'm certainly not a representative for you guys. I don't know. I was invited to be on this panel, and I thank Omar for having me here. Maybe some people missed the intro when they explained why I'm here. But there's many other people who have opinions that could be here too. So I thank you so much for having this thing, first of all. And it's never over. This issue's not over. And I think we just got to find a way to keep everybody in this city happy and in this country. So how can we do it? That's the question, not whether marijuana creates crime or not. Let's treat people fair and just. Everyone.
Thank you, Bill.
And no Islamophobia, no racism. Let's try to fight that. That's more important than fighting dispensaries.
All right, Imam Ismail, if there's one message, again, this is not the final word, so if there's one message you'd like to send to the owners of the dispensaries out there, what would it be and why?
Well, just before I get to that, I just wanted to tell Bill that, in regards to that Yemen issue, you might want to get back to me on that one. I could help clarify that matter for you. But, you said final thoughts?
No, this is not the final thoughts. This is just, if there's one message you'd like to send to the owners of the dispensaries, like one statement that you want to make or a question, it could be anything.
It's not too late. It's not too late. Just because you spent a little bit of money, fixing a building or whatever, it's not too late. You can make things right if you want to. And that's the key word, if you want to. It doesn't have to be a marijuana dispensary. Why does it have to be a marijuana dispensary? Answer me that. Why does it have to be a marijuana dispensary in a city or a community that the majority doesn't want? Why does it have to be a marijuana dispensary? Why can't it be anything else? Why don't we work together, to find a better alternative? How about that? In this day and age when people, we're talking about change and unity and coming together. How are we going to do that when there's still people out there that are trying to, do away with a community or destroy it or corrupt it, as we believe, through marijuana or marijuana dispensaries? I thought maybe like I'd hear some kind of, maybe empathy or, a little more understanding this. I don't know. Maybe, like I said, it's still not too late. I think this place or, this building that they remodeled and did all this work in, maybe it could be something else. Maybe why don't you ask the people? What it should be or work together. Maybe there's other people, other entrepreneurs, other business opportunities where it could be switched or turned into something else that the community actually wants or needs or will benefit from, just like it would benefit from this. Financially, I'm saying, financially. Because there's no other benefit than this place, than you guys having your own financial and personal, motives and interests in regards to it. Because it is not for the community. And that's what I want them to understand. When you're talking about communities and we're going to be doing this for the community and the community, but you guys are not representing the community, meaning you're not representing the community's wants. You're not representing the community's, interests, because the community as a whole, or the vast majority of it, doesn't want no marijuana dispensaries. And I understand, just like you guys said, there are other issues that need to be tackled and addressed as well. The alcohol issue, the tobacco issue, or the hookah issue, or whatever other issues that are out there. And so this just adds on to the misery that the city is going through, whether it's the bars or the clubs or whatever you guys mentioned previously. That's what the community is going through.
Thank you.
And that's what it's going to continue to go through, especially with more and more of these marijuana dispensaries opening up. And so, that's what it is. And
all right, thank you, Imam Ismail. Question to now, pleasantries, is if there's one message you want to send to the Hamtramck community, even to those that are on the panel or those that are watching, what would it be and why?
What I would note is, and I appreciate the question, Omar, is that this is about people, not places. By that I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about a building and talking about things that have been done and whatnot. But the message I would send would be 3 words: respect, tolerance, and grace. And that's a two-way street. And by that we mean when we want to make this point, we will say it on ad nauseum. This is not about a marijuana versus Muslim community issue, and it shouldn't be that, because it's a greater issue that, we're in a world we like to say we're a melting pot. I don't believe in melting pot, because that means everybody blends together, right? I'm a black man from Detroit sitting among my colleagues, and we're of all different races, ethnicities, but I'm still sitting my locks out, wearing my style, they're wearing their suits, their style, that type of thing, but we're still, quote unquote, together, right? Sitting on this panel together. That's what we mean when we say being able to coexist. And when you coexist with other people, with other beliefs, with other morals, you have to understand they may think differently than you. And as Mom just noted, with all due respect, as a moment ago, we're talking about the liquor establishments, talking about other establishments, the issues there. We want to be very clear. Our job is not trying to deflect and say, don't look at us, look at those problems over there too, right? Because we're not even calling them problems. We're not saying, look at those ills, look at those vices. We're saying those that there are people that may or may not agree with those things and those uses, and they've been allowed to coexist. So our point is, why should we be treated any differently? Why should the marijuana dispensary be treated any differently? And we humbly submit and know that part of the reason it's being treated differently is because of a lot of preconceived notions, a lot of things that have been contributed to by our own federal government's admittance and foreign administrations that there was a blending of the cannabis plant of marijuana and specifically to be used for targeting communities of color to incarcerate them in war on drugs. And, when I mention things such as respect, tolerance, and grace, it's not lip service. I say to the point that, our own Chief Security Officer, Eric Mack, formerly had a relationship working with the Islamic Association in Greater Detroit, and doing work for them, supporting them, making sure we provide security so that they could worship safely without worrying about being harmed and whatnot. We respect all beliefs. And we do understand that I think we'll be careful when saying the majority of something, the minority of something. End of the day is when you have majority or minority, that means it's not 100%. What that means is that there still is a different viewpoint. And no matter how big that viewpoint is, no matter how small it is, they have to be respected. And we want to be able to come to the community to be able to coexist, understanding that all may not be in favor of us, supportive of us, but some are. And for those that are, that they deserve the same respect, same tolerance, the same grace that we're going to offer to those, whether you agree with us or not. So that's the message that we want to deliver. And I think it echoes what Bill said earlier when talking about one Hamtramck. That's what one Hamtramck means to us. It's one, pot, if you will, skillet of all the different ingredients together. They don't blend together. It's not like soup. They all accumulate. We're our same individual ingredients. We still be able to coexist together in that respect, tolerance, and grace.
Okay, and you guys still have a minute left on the clock if Ben or Eric want to add on anything to that?
No, I think that was wonderful. I don't see how I could add anything to it.
Okay, thank you very much. And basically now we are going to move on to the final word. We're not going to share any more questions. I guess if you guys like, you guys could personally answer the questions once you guys see it posted later on the page if you guys want. And I did want to shut this down at 10 o'clock and we are at 10:01. So with that said, I know time flies when we're all chatting. Next thing you know, it's already 10 o'clock. So I'm gonna let Pleasantries start off with the final word. I'll go to Bill Meyer, and then I'll end it with Imam Ismail, and then we'll shut this show down for the day. So Pleasantries, final word. You guys have 4 minutes to give any final word that you guys like.
I think it's all been said. We appreciate you, and thanks to Motivate Me 313 for hosting this. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us to share our perspectives on this issue, and if stuff like this happened more often in this country on other divisive issues, maybe we'd all be in a better place and be able to move forward in a smoother fashion. Also like to thank the panelists on the other side for their comments. We appreciate that. We'll take what they've said into consideration, and we'll continue to try to do the best we can in that regard. And thanks to everybody listening this evening. We appreciate it. We'll make sure to look through the comments and try to take all the value that we can from them, and wake up tomorrow being even better than we went to bed this evening. Thanks very much.
Thank you for that final stand. I don't know if Eric or Jerome wanted to add anything else with that.
The only thing I'd say is that the conversation for us doesn't stop today, right? I mean, we appreciate this forum has been noted. We're thankful to have this opportunity and to be able to do so in this sort of public discourse, because that matters to us. But we're in the community, and we say community partners. That doesn't just stop right now, because we got to do it on the cool Motivate Me 313 platform, right? Going forward, we're still here. We want to be able to still have those dialogues, and still hear, still listen, and learn and share.
One other thing, just because we're aware it's a concern, folks. At Pleasantries, because we've had to operate throughout the pandemic, we have our own tests here, and we take them all the time. And the three of us here took a COVID test before this so that we could be here without masks on, because we think it's important that you see our faces when we talk to you, because it increases the humanity of this experience. So we care very much about COVID. Our company actually has been congratulated by multiple county officials for our COVID and pandemic policies and how we've handled this over this last year. And to the extent anybody was concerned, we literally just passed tests before we sat down.
Okay, thank you for adding that, and also the two shout outs for Motivate Me 313. Appreciate it. Bill Meyer, final word, final statement that you want to make?
So it's unfortunate that we can't meet personally, and the public can't meet personally anymore for stuff like this. This is a subject for the community. And, this word majority is being thrown around by everybody, and, we have some numbers to prove certain things and some others, but, why anybody would even want to challenge that there's a lot of Muslims living in this city. What's wrong with that? What's wrong if they have a majority? Well, it's because the power structure changes. I don't know if you sensed it, but like a few years ago, we got 3 new members of council who were Muslim, and then they had 4, and pretty soon we had a more majority Muslim city council. This made news world around. This is something to be proud of. I think this is cool. We're unique. We're a unique town with people who happen to be Muslims. I have no problem with Muslims or anybody. I think it's cool to learn their culture, learn their history. I don't believe everything they believe, just I don't believe what a lot of you people believe, maybe, who knows. But I want to live together because we all have things in common. We want to be safe and happy and respect each other. But respect isn't the only word here. There's injustice going on in this country. You can't just respect people. You have to fight for justice. You have to fight for people to be treated equally. And that's all I'm doing. And that, I don't make a living doing this. I haven't made a penny off of anything in this city ever. I've been a chair of the Human Rights Commission. I run this one Hamtramck. There's no money involved here. Just why I think this sort of business process is a different thing to me. I have a business of my own that I've had all my life. It's very successful, but I don't use money to work in the social justice system. And I think that the issues we have to address here are injustice in this city. In this city, it's a unique city with a majority Muslim people living here. I'm not speaking for them. I'm telling you a fact. And we're going to have some way to prove it later on. Who knows? But I think even if it isn't a majority, for those who don't want to accept that, let's treat each other fine. If they're 40, 20, I don't care. Let's respect each other for the fact that Muslims are being discriminated against in our whole country. So let's try to work with them and help them and fight this stigma. If you hear some of these comments that are made, I'll just mention one brief little one. Like, it's mostly foreigners who are against the dispensaries. Now, why would you say something like that? It's mostly foreigners against the dispensary? Who are foreigners? Are Muslims foreigners? Are Yemenis foreigners? Are they citizens? Are Polish immigrants that aren't citizens, are they foreigners? Who's foreigners? And why would you use that term? This is coded terminology, and we have to be careful about how we treat each other, especially because of our belief system, our looks, or whatever else. The gay community, the Muslim community, the black community. This is what we have to deal with. This is the most important. If we can solve that problem, then you can have dispensaries wherever you want to. If people can understand what they do, then we'll get to the education of learning about marijuana and what's good or bad about it. A lot of people now have a blockage. They don't want to learn about each other. They don't want to learn about the goods or whatever, and the other guys don't want to learn about their culture or anything like that. So we're just not opening our minds. Open the mind up, and then let's learn about as much as we can learn about each other and try to live in this planet where we're all fighting each other all the time. It's getting worse and worse. Judge today what happened in D.C.
Thank you.
We don't need that kind of shit here. Let's try to figure a way to solve problems.
For sure.
Humanistically. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Bill Meyer. Appreciate it. And then we're going to close off the show with Imam Ismail's final word.
Yeah, thanks, Omar. I really hope that the panel there and the people there at Pleasantries or any other weed dispensaries, if they are truly sincere and honest, that they really want good for the community. And they really want good for this community, for the Hamtramck community, that they really reconsider what they are doing. Not just from a business aspect or, a financial or whatever the case may be. However, if you are saying that you are willing to help and willing to lend an ear and hear the people, well, this is the voice to the people. I speak on behalf of the people, saying that they're not interested in weed dispensaries. So what are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about that? How are you going to cater to that want? What will you do to change? Is there an alternative? Can we work together for an alternative? That's what I leave you with. Because that's what the people want. And that's what the city of Hamtramck wants. And that's what the community of the Hamtramck people want. And so, the ball's on your court now, on your side. Either you will be deaf, dumb, and blind to the wants of the people and show no respect whatsoever to their religious values, moral values, cultural values, conservative values, whatever you want to call it, or you're not. So I guess time will tell. And I hope that you guys are sincere.
All right. Thank you very much, Imam Ismail. And again, for those of you that are watching and for those of you that are on the panels today, thank you guys. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys being here. Pleasantries, you guys taking time off. Bill Meyer, Imam Ismail, everybody's busy in their own life. Everybody got something going on. So taking your time out to actually sit down and share your thoughts. Like I said, even though we agree to disagree, it's important to make a change in whatever it is that we're trying to do. And thank you guys. And if there's any other future topics, I will be more than happy to be the middleman and be the moderator to discuss and help push the message across of being able to talk about something even though we disagree with one another. So again, thank you guys, everybody that watched.
Thank you.
It. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thanks so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Everybody, thank you.
Take care.
Bye bye.